Kawaki and Sarada's eyes have a hidden symbolism that many of you may have missed. This significance is foreshadowing an extreme fallout between the two, and while it's obvious that who would win this conflict, the one who does not win could cause a lot of damage to the other party. Their ocular abilities will play a great role here, as for some reasons, Sarada and Kawaki's Dojutsus have been given the opposite shapes. With Mangekyo depicted as an outward sun, the Kokugan has an inward shape, which builds a contrast with Sarada's special sharingan. But this divergence is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the upcoming conflict of Sarada and Kawaki. Not only are we gonna see the humongous powers of the Mangekyo making Kawaki go crazy, but the way their feud would end is also really surprising. So let's understand how their legacies are interconnected in this vortex of fate, starting with Sarada's new powers and abilities. The pattern of the sun Mangekyo doesn't only contrast the Kokugan of Kawaki, but is also the opposite of the Sharingan, Aida's crescent-shaped eye. Sarada's Mangekyo design reflects her role to unveil the truth and diminish the falsehood. The truth which has been kept hidden by Kawaki, the whereabouts and fate of Naruto, as well as the falsehood that Aida manifested, which made Boruto the bad guy in the eyes of everyone. In chapter 4 of Two Blue Vortex, she could be seen going against Kawaki to advocate the innocence of Boruto. This shows her fearlessness, as she ain't afraid of getting killed by Kawaki for not following his stubborn will. The moon of Aida symbolizes the desire of Kawaki that got spread in everyone's eyes, and the Kokugan reflects Kawaki's efforts to stretch the lies till he finally fulfills his purpose. In between all this, Sarada acts as an embodiment of hope, who first helped Boruto in escaping and now has become his greatest supporter. She even unlocked the Mangekyo out of Boruto's love, breaking the cycle of hatred once for all. But her awakening of this power is the strangest, as she is feeling something that no Uchiha in history has felt before, dwelling in a false reality just to support someone who's an enemy of the entire world. What's more interesting is that this Dojutsu contrast could even reveal the name of Sarada's Mangekyo ability. The Kokugan signature power is called Daikokuten, a Japanese mythological deity. He is a part of the 7 gods of fortune who are believed to bring good luck and prosperity. Now the thing about Daikokuten is that he's derived from the Hindu god Mahakala, and the only other deities from the 7 gods of fortune who are based on Hindu mythology are Benzaiten and Bishamonten. As for Sarada's Mangekyo ability, it could be named Benzaiten, as it's the only female deity from the 7 gods of fortune. On top of that, both of them being inspired from Hindu mythology enhances this possibility further. Benzaiten is based on the Hindu goddess Saraswati, who's known to be the goddess of everything that flows, like water, music, art, wealth, wisdom, and fortune. However, I don't think the qualities of this deity are going to determine what Sarada's Mangekyo will be capable of. Just like Daikokuten, Benzaiten could just be a name of an ability with nothing to do with what the power does. Usually Mangekyo users are given 2 distinct abilities, one in each eye, and while one ability deals with offensive part, the other one handles the supplementary side, with the Susanoo usually being a defensive power-up that can also wield offensive techniques. In Sarada's case, since her Mangekyo awakens in the lack of the hatred cycle, we could expect her combat ability to be a one-of-its-kind regenerative power. Just like how the Amaterasu burns the opponent with eternal black flames, Sarada could create the healing flames to recover the wounds and injuries of her teammates. The color of these flames could either be white or golden, the complete opposite of Amaterasu. In case of her supplementary ability, she could have her own variant of Tsukuyomi, which unveils the truth to her opponents. Usually this Genjutsu power takes the victim into a dreamlike state, where the user is able to manipulate the events to cause the target mental suffering. But Sarada's Genjutsu could be different, as it could manifest her own point of view into the minds of her targets. In other words, she could use this power to make everyone aware about Boruto's truth. There's a slight chance that she has already used this power on Sasuke, which is how he was able to put his faith on her words. It sounds a bit similar to Kotoa Matsuki, the Genjutsu of Shisui, that allows the user to enter the mind of the target and manipulate them without their knowledge. The affected individual believes that they are acting of their own free will, making the control nearly undetectable. The only difference would be that this ability reflects what her heart desires, which is to make people believe on her testimony. These abilities reflect Sarada's endeavor on omnipotence and how she might be clearing the name of Boruto. But looking at how the power scaling is on the rise, she will need to play some cards to stay relevant. The contrast in the eyes of Kawaki and Sarada might even indicate a power which would disable the abilities of Kokugan. Kawaki does not use this power in the prologue scene, and while it could be that it wasn't planned back then, I don't think that may be the case here. Kishimoto added the Jogan in the anime counterpart of the flash forward that he obviously came up with a lot later in the story. This means he had the chance to include Kawaki's Dojutsu as well, or maybe he just wanted to keep it a secret, explaining why it wasn't shown. Also, Kawaki said to Boruto that he will send him to where he sent Naruto, so he would obviously need the Kokugan to do that. But what if he doesn't? We have seen the Karma opening portals to another dimension before, so if something had to happen to Kawaki's Dojutsu, he might still be able to use the Karma in teleporting Boruto. But what if something actually happened to the Kokugan? Another hint from the flash forward which makes this possibility plausible is Boruto freely using a sword without the fear of getting its strength. I believe if Sarada was behind Kawaki not using his Dojutsu, there is actually a way for her to accomplish that. And to understand what it is, we will need to go back to Aida's Senringan and its impact on Sarada's Mangekyo. There is an obvious contrast between both the eyes, and if you look at it in terms of abilities, the Senringan seems to be symbolizing omnipotence. So assuming Sarada's Mangekyo would also grant her a genjutsu to mess with people's memories, what if she uses it on Kawaki to make him forget using the Kokugan? Imagine it as a Kotoa Masuki type of power that would delete every memory of the Dharma Eye from the mind of Kawaki. It could put him on a competitive disadvantage since this eye comes really handy to him during battles, which might be why he ain't using it during the future fight. This would also explain the symbolic connection between the two eyes, with Sarada's Mangekyo nullifying the Dojutsu of Kawaki. Going back to the slight possibility of Sarada firing up the faith in Sasuke's heart through the Mangekyo, this also makes it plausible for Sarada to make Kawaki believe that he doesn't have the Kokugan at first place. Looking at the current state of Kawaki in the story, it won't make sense for Sarada to play any such card since he is not that big of a threat at present. But once he taps into his Jigen inspired attire, he could become a great menace, and maybe that would be the time for Sarada to make him forget an important power. Well, this may be possible if she gets to unlock the genjutsu power of Kotoa Masuki or an ability very similar to that. But we shouldn't forget there are other possible powers that she may be awakening through the Mangekyo Sharingan. And to figure out the better alternatives for Sarada's upcoming abilities, we will have to understand the mechanism which goes behind a Mangekyo power. It has been well established that this eye reflects the desires of the heart, meaning that the user will unlock an ability based on the circumstances which awaken this eye. Let's take a look at how all the previous Mangekyo users have unlocked this eye and how their powers were related to its awakening. Starting off with the Amaterasu, the power of immortal flames, that was manifested by the Uchiha brothers Sasuke and Itachi. The elder brother's Mangekyo reflection of this ability represents his self-consuming desire of protecting Sasuke, while as the younger brother's obsession over vengeance is what made him unlock this ability. The purpose of both Sasuke and Itachi was clear when they unlocked this Mangekyo power. The burning desire to seek revenge or save a close one manifested into the eternal flames of Amaterasu. Then we have the Tsukuyomi technique that was used by Itachi. It trapped the target into a genjutsu world where seconds turn into years with ruthless mental torture. As for the symbolism, it reflected the manipulative tendencies and emotional burden that he carried. As for Obito, he has the Kamui ability which teleports objects or the user himself into another dimension. It symbolized his desire to escape the reality and the pain of his past. The Kotoa Masuki of Shisui Uchiha was an undetectable genjutsu that alters the target's emotions and memories without their knowledge. It reflects his strong loyalty and his commitment to protect the Uchiha clan from within. This ability was kinda similar to the rewrite of history by omnipotence, but I think I have figured out the true essence of the Mangekyo abilities. Well, as we know, the ninjutsus are just a weaker version of shinjutsu, the divine powers of Otsutsuki's that were somehow compatible with the human race. The omnipotence is known as the shinjutsu of shinjutsus cause it's able to materialize any desire of the user. The Mangekyo can transform the desire of the user into abilities, but with some harsh drawbacks. Like the overuse of this ability can make the user go blind, which isn't the case with omnipotence, cause after all it's the divine power. The transformation of a desire into a destructive move is what ties the MS with the divine spell. The fact that it is the Shinjutsu of Shinjutsus means that all the other jutsu-based abilities in existence can be utilized with this power. However, the reason the Mangekyo had so many stakes like blindness, as well as the harsh awakening criteria, is because it had acquired a quality of omnipotence. The power of manifesting desires into abilities makes it one of the most unique dojutsus. The only twist that stops the Mangekyo from being the most broken dojutsu is the limitation of manifested abilities, which makes sense because Sarada shouldn't be able to spam tons of new powers just because she has been devastated. This also clears one thing, that Indra or Suzuki, the ancestor of the Uchiha clan, was more naturally talented than his brother Ashura due to the dominance of strong Otsutsuki genes, the genes that predestined the future of all his successors, and even Sarada, who's about to go against a lot of Otsutsukis in the future. Talking about Obito, his desire to escape this world and everything that he witnessed in the past got him an ability like Daikokuten, known as Kamui. By this we can conclude the ability of Sarada's Mangekyo could mimic some Shinjutsu that we may have seen in the story before. Now obviously it's not gonna be omnipotence, cause it's the highest ranking divine power of them all. However, Sarada could definitely gain an edge over her opponents by awakening a Mangekyo variant of a useful Otsutsuki power. Earlier I talked about the Genjutsu to edit the memories of people that would make them believe the words of Sarada without any hesitation. While that was a supplementary power, let's talk about the offensive ability of the Mangekyo, which could be a watered down version of a Shinjutsu. I would say the Shinjutsu whose watered down version could be unlocked by Sarada is the reflection power of Daemon. Now it could have its own defects, but it can work as a really strong defensive as well as offensive ability. She could create a reflective shield around her, which reflects any jutsu or physical attack back on the opponent with amplified potency. However, she would also take a portion of the reflected damage on herself, making it a high risk high reward technique. She could even unlock a time related power where she predetermines her opponent's attack by having a very quick glimpse of future, and then she could act accordingly to make her move based on what she saw. The clock-like pattern of her Mangekyo also hints at a power that could have time as a vital element. There are some more powers that she could unlock in the future, especially the Susanoo, which might change everything about the legacy of Uchihas. Her Susanoo could have a samurai avatar for some interesting reasons. Japan is known as the land of the rising sun, and a lot of portrayals of samurai have sun motifs in the background. The sun and samurai are used on par with each other in various traditional Japanese portrayals. And since Sarada's Mangekyo is shaped like a sun, it makes sense for her to have a samurai beast as the Susanoo. The color of her Susanoo could be black, symbolizing the darkness shrouding her heart. The omnipotence incident has left her completely shattered, and the forthcoming events could make her adapt a stone cold personality. What's more interesting to discuss than the color of her beast power is the type of abilities that it could manifest. Considering the type of enemies she's facing like Kawaki, who could send her to another dimension if she lowers her guard, the best thing her Susanoo could provide her is speed, something that all the previous ones lack. Kawaki will definitely try to get rid of her, but the extreme speed of her Susanoo could save her from getting sealed. Another thing that I really want her to do is to condense her Susanoo chakra into an armor type of thing. It would provide her a huge defensive edge, and she wouldn't get the same treatment as Sasuke while using it. The feud between Sarada and Kawaki may also come to an end once she is able to integrate her point of view in the mind of the Deuteragonist. And the Genjutsu powers are the best way to do that, like by showing him the history of shinobis and the ninja world. Now before we conclude the video, here are some more possibilities for Sarada's future power-up. Her MS could have been derived from Yatanuka Gami, a sacred bronze mirror which translates to the 8th mirror. They represent wisdom or honesty, and in ancient Japan, they symbolize the truth. Now since Sarada's Mangekyo is associated with a mirror, it's not unlikely for her to have powers that are also derived from a similar type of device. This brings us to Ishikore Dome no Mikoto, a Shinto kami associated with mirrors. In Japanese mythology, she crafted the elegant Yata mirror which drew the sun goddess Amaterasu out of her cave, restoring light to the world. This theory points that Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan Jutsu will be named after this goddess and could feature a mirror or reflection based abilities. This would provide a diverse array of functionalities and powers, potentially including access to a personal mirror dimension. She could enter the dimension at will through her mirrors or reflections, and even use reflective surfaces like water to do something similar to the mechanism of the Kamui ability. This could also explain why she is immune to Aida's omnipotence, since her reality is rooted in her own personal mirror dimension unlike others. She could even have some other similar mirror and reflection related powers that will, for the first time in the series, make the Mangekyo's ability relate to its original meaning, a kaleidoscope. It's a toy consisting of a tube containing mirrors and pieces of colored glass or paper whose reflections produce changing patterns when the tube is rotated. So Sarada's ability could be similar to this phenomenon, as she may be able to create infinite mirror clones that would be mere reflections of her true self. It's a symbolism to the phenomenon of two mirrors placed parallel to each other can create infinite reflections of the same object over and over till infinity. This could even be the key to defeating Daemon if he ever becomes the enemy of the leaf. He would be exhausted by reflecting the attacks of Sarada onto her mirror clones, as the reflections would literally never end. And that's it for today. If you would like to know about some more mind-blowing Boruto theories, check out these videos right now. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.